Hello, welcome. I want to talk about my Minecraft OC lore because I can, and two people were interested. Now, to preface, these two are Minecraft OCs. They came about while playing a modded server with my friends. I know there is some already base Minecraft Enderman lore, but I decided to throw that mostly out the window. A lot of this is based off of shows and general media I've consumed, whether it being like a book, a manga, or whatever. So be warned, there is some of those. So if you see something that is similar, you're probably thinking correctly. I would also like to mention before I start explaining the lore of the characters and the general Minecraft world that there are some possibly triggering topics, so be careful while watching this video. Now, before I talk about the characters themselves, I'm going to explain the Enderman lore I've come up with and some other things that I find important to mention. Enderman and Enderian lore. They are like bees. The Ender Dragon is the queen and gives birth to each and every Enderman. She watches over the communities and how they function. The Endermen and Enderians are the workers. They move around, they collect food, they do all that stuff. The Ender Dragon lays a batch of eggs every 100 years. When she dies, the Endermen then take care of the egg till it hatches, bringing a new queen. However, there is a group of Endermen and Enderians who will start their own groups. They can reproduce and take care of themselves, but they still ever so slightly need the help from the Ender Dragon, their queen. The Endermen, they are what you see often. They can only speak in Ender, as their vocal cords weren't made for talking in common languages. They can comprehend what people say to them. There is no language barrier, besides for them not being able to speak common. They usually are the ones that are building the cities and are higher ranked officials in the, kingdom. The Enderians, they can speak common languages, and sometimes they can speak Ender, but their vocal cords can't pronounce most of the words. They are more humanoid than the Endermen, being smaller. They usually scatter a lot more, exploring different worlds and areas, learning different things. They strive for knowledge and bring it back to the Endermen. Endermen and Enderians are unable to die of old age. They can be killed and get sick still, but they do not die naturally, so they are immortal, so to say. Curse lore. Curses are caused by an immense feeling of anger, can be hatred, jealousy, etc. The more anger, the stronger they are. They are often called entities but can come in many different ways. The person who is angry, gaining powers and turning otherworldly. An object having all anger stored in it. A child being murdered and in death turning into a monster. And an egg being held while anger is filled in the holder. They often constantly will have anger throughout their life, unable to stop this raging anger that fills them. An Adirian who was often ignored by his elders. He didn't know why, but he stayed a good child, doing anything for attention. His childhood was filled with spotty memory and being blamed for things he never did. One day, he was exiled from the end. He wasn't told why. He explored around trying to find a place to live, finding a community. Eventually, he gave up and settled down and made a place to live. He buried himself with taking care of animals and his farm. Then, one day, he noticed someone walking near his home. He went over and got really excited. The man looked kind and offered him a place to feel welcomed. He followed the man back to his place. In his house, there was a sleeping child who seemed to sleep through the sound of strangers entering their home. And the man showed him a chest filled with this ravenous flesh that leaked anger and want. He decided to join the old man to worship and help this flesh creature find its way to a new host. He was working on his garden and farm when he heard a voice. a monologue, one that was not his own, but was inside his head. And then he blinked. His memory went black until he woke up in his bed the next day. His memory became more and more spotty once again, and he was annoyed with it. He wanted to remember all the fun times he was having. So he went to the man's house that had shown him the flash before, and he was different. He was confused on how they met, confused on who he was, but Et didn't seem to mind, just following along, thinking that he was hiding his knowledge from his child because he didn't want his child involved. So he went home embarrassed a bit, and then a voice ran through his head once again, telling him that he was odd and he didn't belong anywhere and he should just leave forever. An Enderman held the egg that was just laid by the dragon. They thought about how much they hated the way the kingdom was being run. They hated how it was one person in power. It had been anger floating around for a long time, not just by this one Enderman, but by many. So much pent-up anger, but no one fixed it. No one cared enough to fix their anger to make it better for themselves and for the future. They all didn't care. The Enderman who held the egg looked at the egg and continued pouring disdain and anger into it. A light flashed. The egg held a future citizen, Et. When the egg hatched with Et, everyone knew what had happened, the curse that was placed upon him, but they never acknowledged his other half, the entity that lived and dwelled within his body, which made the entity annoyed, angry, and jealous. He wasn't angry with the thing he should have been, like most curses should. He wasn't like most curses. He was a child. He acted like a child. He had childish wants. He had childish needs. But they were never met. Anger filled this entity as Et got attention and attention he wanted, and continuously. So he did something so then neither of them would have that attention. He made it so they were banned from the end to go back to where their home was. He stopped caring for a bit, walking around, until they found community once again. And he fought for that attention, and this time the man gave it to him. Et too, but he still had some of this attention, which made him pleased, more happier. He still fought with Et about who was favorite, but in childish ways, because he was the child. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope you all are doing safe and you are good. And goodbye. If you want more random OC lore, just say you do. I will make it if people want it.